So could we talk about your business? We'll go a little bit more into business wise instead of life wise. Your business, a lead comes in. What's the process start to end, like rough? You don't have to give away every aspect of your business. What does that look like?
Yeah. So we have people that answer the phones since for a number of years. A lead
And is
comes
that
in.
in-house or have you like outsourced it?
So up until last week, it was in-house. So we had somebody in-house who answered all of our calls. We ended up with like 6 people on the phones at one point, answering phones, doing outbound follow-up, closing deals. We close everything over the phone at this point in time. And last week we actually hired 4 VAs, and now they're doing a lot of the lead follow up and outbound cold calling, outbound and inbound answering. They're in training right now for that. So out of 4 we hired, 3 will probably stick. 2 will be really good on follow up, and 1 looks like they're gonna be really good on inbound. So, and then I'm gonna do another round. I'll probably end up with about 8 VAs when it's all said and done. So
And
yeah.
how has that dropped your overhead significantly?
With the VAs, that's a fantastic question. So at the end of the day, basically, I'm paying a little bit of a premium for VAs. I'm not paying the $4 or $5 VA. I'm using a company
You're
called
using rough.
Rocket Station, yeah, and paying a little more because they come somewhat seasoned, right? Like they're not completely green, which I really like, and then they help you manage the process, help you with the hiring. But I'm paying. I can get 3 VAs for. Well, actually 2, let me see here. So they're about $10 an hour. I pay $15 an hour for my normal people. So I can get 3 VAs for the cost of 2 in my organization. So essentially I get 1 extra person for every 2 people. I get a third, so that's definitely going to drop my overhead. But what it really does is it's not so much a drop in the overhead I was looking for. I was looking for a simplification in the process, because what was happening was, originally we had calls coming in and somebody who had booked the calls, and then we had acquisitions, boots on the ground, go out into the market and go to the house. And I'm in a lot of markets. In fact, we're actually, my dispo guy moved to Tennessee. I'm sure you saw that, Justin. Most people in Fresno know him. And so we're going to open up the Midwest. Like, we're already putting our claws into Tennessee, and we're going to hit several markets in Tennessee, and then I'm going to go up the Midwest. So, and then I'm at like 8 or 9 markets here on the West Coast. So, we had like 8 acquisitions people. And that's to try to do marketing and try to keep all of them fed with appointments. It's a lot of moving parts. And so we started looking at, okay, well, how do we simplify that? Okay, let's start closing over the phone. And so we started doing that a little over a year ago, and dialed down till we had no acquisitions people. It was all in-house. Well, my in-house people we tried doing lead management and then hand off to acquisitions, and that was a little rough. So internally, so then we did lead management, like basically they answered the phones and they closed. But that and follow up and outbound, just, it's a lot to ask somebody to do. So in the simplification of the process, it's like, okay, well, how do I have an army of people just handle everything that's coming at us with the follow? Because our follow-up game is probably better than anybody in the market. Now, I'm going to hands down say it because I want you to try to compete with me. But our follow-up game is 80 to 90% of what we bring in at this point in time, contract-wise, is follow-up. So, 20,000 plus leads in our database just from the last 24 months. And so we need at least 2 or 3 people on follow-up. We need at least 2 or 3 people on cold calling. We need at least 2 people, maybe 3 on answering incoming calls. And so if I can dial that in, then literally the people that I have internally, all they have to do is close deals. And then I just have to have 1 or 2 superstar closers, and I got it made.
Right. And they can make a great living.
Yeah. And they can make a fantastic living, and all they have to do is focus on closing. Like, everything else is handled for them. And so it's just in my mind, when I'm building an organization, it's like, how do I start removing moving parts? It's like, we're building courses, right? Right now, and we have some things going on the back end, and I'm having these conversations, and I'm like, we're building a membership site, and I'm like, well, this membership site, there's like 5 steps to get to point A, and I'm like, how do we make 5 steps 2 steps? Because when I hand it to somebody, I want to remove the opportunity for error.
Yep.
And when you're systematizing your business, you what you're looking for is ways to declutter your operation. And so that's what we've been doing over the last couple of years, is each time we get a dialed in process, I go back and I break it and go, okay, how can we make it simpler? How can we make it simpler? How can we make it simpler? Because at the end of the day, it's all it is ROI on the dollar and ROI on time. And so, and just one other thing I'll share is, like, I have mapped out in my organization every dollar somebody touches. So if you all you do is answer the phones, I know I pay you X a year and you touch Y a year. Like I had a guy I paid $34,000 one year, and he was responsible for touching $500,000 in revenue in my company. I know that. I got that dialed in. So, and it maybe he touches it, acquisition touches it, and dispo touches it, but I know that each one of them had a responsibility in that dollar earned. And so it's like, how do I simplify the process down to maximize that person's time so they can bring in more dollars? And that's how I look at my whole organization.
That is awesome. So we have it come in. Sorry about that. It comes in, it gets live answered, and then it's passed off to the acquisition guy. How are you guys disqualifying? Right. So it comes in for a lot. Me, if they don't want to do business in 90 days and they don't really have any motivation, we won't like, okay, they're done, but like we'll put them on a follow-up automatically. Like they'll get screened. If they aren't really ready to do anything, they automatically get pushed into a follow-up. They'll get touched the next month to see if anything's happening.
Yeah. So we're a little more aggressive than that. I'll give you that. We're a little bit more aggressive than that. And in the sense that we're going to have deeper conversations to get to, is there underlying motivation, there that a lot of people may like, how do I put this? Want to answer this right. So a lot of people will hear that they're not ready to do something in 90 days. And if you dig into the conversation a little deeper, sometimes you'll realize that you can actually move to the finish line a little faster. So first we're going to probe a little deeper to see if that's an opportunity. And then we're going to be a little bit more aggressive in follow-up. What most people will put on a 30-day, we're probably going to do a 2-week. So, and we're going to touch, and we're going to spend more time building relationships. So, but I'll tell you, like we call dead. We call deads. If somebody comes in and says, basically, go to hell, F off, take me off your list, I never want to hear you again, go die in a dark, dreary hole. We're gonna still follow up with you.
Yeah.
So we're hyper aggressive, huh?
How often are you touching them? I try and touch them like every 3 months.
Oh, probably every 30 days. we're texting, we're RVMing, we're cold calling. Like we'll download our database and we'll put it in a dialer, and we'll just have somebody cold call it.
Yeah.
And we'll just go through everything. So we're touching it multiple times from multiple different angles. And what's cool about our operation is you'd be amazed at how many people think, because we're hitting you from different directions, that we're different companies.
Right.
Yeah. And so they don't even realize is the same company. But so we'll hit them from like 50 different directions, and we'll hit them often. And yeah, so we're super, super aggressive about that. But again, like I always share this, like last October, we did 22 contracts in October. 19 of them were from follow-up, from several months before, 6 months before, type of thing.
Awesome. So we got that, and then it gets passed over to acquisitions after. I mean, do you know how many touches it takes for you to get a deal? You're a KPI guy.
So as far as when you're talking about touches for direct mail or touches for the call, the follow-up?
Let's like follow-up.
That's a fantastic question to say how many touches it take in follow-up. So when we do our average days in basically from the initial call before they go into follow-up sequence is about 14 days to the contract. In follow-up, that's a little bit harder to gauge because it's a little bit more random. So we have contracts we get sometimes up to 2 years later. We have contracts we get just a few months later. So I don't even with direct mail, I think the touches concept is overblown, and this is just my opinion, but really when you're marketing, you're throwing out a net to a certain degree, or you're throwing out bait, and you're looking for the one person to put their hand up. So you go to a pond and that there's fish in that pond, but you don't know which fish is hungry. And so at the end of the day, which fish is going to bite your hook out of the fish in the pond to the ones that are hungry to the ones that bite? It's random. It's completely random. Mm-hmm. It's, did I put my hook in the right spot with the right bait at the right moment that fish just happened to be there? And it's the same thing with cold calling, direct mail, follow-up. It really is random. And so to try to, it would be deceiving for me to say you have to touch them 6 times on average to get a deal. I don't think there's any truth to that. I think that once you realize how random the whole process really is,
One
and that real
company.
yeah, really all you're trying to do is find likelihood of somebody putting their hand up, but who puts their hand up is random. You're gonna find that you're gonna become much more aggressive and I don't mean aggressive in a bad thing. I just mean, I guess, hungrier in your approach as far as, I got to get on the phone and make these calls. I got to get that direct mail out. I got to get these things out in a consistent manner because consistency is really what's important.
Awesome. And so who gets an offer? Because my biggest thing is I don't like giving out offers because it blows away my leverage. Like once I give them an offer, there's no reason for them to talk to me. And they're like, what the hell is this offer? Like, I don't want to do business with you because that's just the way we have to buy things. And so at a point, like it gets qualified. And then if they're really serious, then we'll shoot an offer, email it over, take them through the process and try and get it closed. If not, I tell my people, like, we don't want to give them an offer yet until like we know there's serious motivation and reason to sell.
We're essentially on the same boat on that. And no, we really avoid giving offers to anybody who won't give us a number. In a perfect world, if I'm the one doing all the acquisitions, if you haven't given me a number and I haven't gotten to a problem that you need to solve and in a way that I can solve it and how I can paint that picture for you, then you're not going to get an offer. In a perfect world, right? Can I say that my acquisitions people follow that to the T? I think like a lot of us who run businesses that have employees, sometimes they get a little bit over anxious and they'll throw offers out a lot sooner than they should. So that's the practical reality. But in my core belief and in how we train, the person has got to. We got to know that's an offer that we're going to be able to actually have a reasonable conversation with them, or we're not going to give it.
Instead of just throwing, what are you going to do? What are you going to give me? What are you going to give me?
And I've shared this story before, but it's like, I remember one time I chased my tail on a property. I went out and did all the work, did all the homework from somebody. He's like, just give me an offer. And we chased our tail, did all the pre-work, came back with an offer. And he's like, it's not enough. And I was like, okay, well, where do we need to be? We're too far off. Click. It's like, well,
right.
It's like, I could have given you, my offer could have been $1 million. It wasn't gonna be good enough. It's like, I need, to me, it's like, if they tell me they want retail, that's still a number. If they put a number on it, they're committed to selling. That's a conversation I can start to dial into.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just too busy, like making me chase a number, you're not serious. That's where, we're going to go into some kind of follow-up.